Have you ever wondered what happens to the energy of your thoughts when the room goes perfectly dark and your mind finally drifts into the quiet embrace of sleep? You close your eyes, the physical world slowly fades away, and yet an entire universe of dreams, memories, and consciousness continues to unfold within you, burning with invisible light. This is a profound mystery, one that we experience every single night, yet we rarely stop to truly comprehend its magnitude. We are creatures of the waking world, tethered to the solid, tangible reality of gravity, mass, and the relentless forward march of time. But beneath this comforting illusion of solidity, beneath the everyday experiences that ground us to this small, rocky planet, there lies a much deeper, much stranger truth waiting to be understood. When we look up at the night sky, we see the ancient light of distant stars, some of which died millions of years ago, their final, desperate glow only just reaching our eyes after a journey across the endless void. We feel a sense of profound awe, a gentle reminder of our own fragile existence in the vast, boundless theater of the cosmos. But what if the greatest mystery of the universe is not out there in the freezing, expanding dark of space, but right here, woven into the very fabric of your own awareness? What if the boundary between life and what comes after is not a permanent wall of nothingness, but rather a complex mirror reflecting the fundamental, bizarre laws of quantum mechanics? Before we journey deeper into this cosmic mystery together, I want to take a brief moment to properly introduce myself. I am Theodore, the researcher, your companion and guide through these quiet, contemplative explorations of our strange and beautiful universe. I have noticed, looking at our community, that exactly 71% of the wonderful people who watch these videos and share this journey with us have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find peace, wonder, and a sense of belonging in these explorations, please consider subscribing. It helps our small community grow immensely, and it ensures that we can continue to wander through the cosmos together, asking the profound questions that echo in the quiet hours of the night. Now, let us return to the gentle dark and to the quantum secrets waiting patiently within it. Think, for a quiet moment, about the first law of thermodynamics. It is one of the most immutable, unbroken rules in all of physics, a monumental pillar upon which our entire understanding of physical reality currently rests. It states, with absolute and unwavering certainty, that energy can never be created from nothing, and it can never be destroyed into absolute nothingness. It can only change form. It can only transition gracefully from one state of being to another, performing an eternal cosmic dance of transformation. The intense, blinding heat of our local sun travels across 93 million miles of empty space to become the stored chemical energy in a humble blade of grass. That grass is consumed, and the energy becomes the kinetic motion of a running deer, which eventually disperses back into the cold universe as subtle, radiating warmth. Every single joule of energy that currently exists in the universe has existed since the very dawn of time, since the primordial silence was shattered by the fiery birth of the cosmos nearly 14 billion years ago. The energy that powers the steady beating of your heart, the complex electrical impulses firing across the billions of synapses in your brain as you listen to the sound of my voice, the spark of consciousness that allows you to perceive yourself as a distinct, living individual. All of it is unbelievably ancient. It is quite literally as old as the stars themselves. As the brilliant and deeply missed astronomer Carl Sagan once so beautifully articulated to the world, we are made of star stuff. The iron coursing through our blood, the calcium fortifying our bones, the nitrogen structuring our DNA. These heavy elements were forged in the unimaginably hot, crushing cores of ancient, dying stars that exploded in spectacular, blinding supernovas billions of years before our quiet green planet even began to coalesce from a cloud of cosmic dust. But this beautiful scientific reality begs a terrifying and wonderful question. If our physical bodies are made of the immortal ash of dead stars, what exactly is our consciousness made of? If the energy of our physical form is conserved forever, rippling out into the universe long after our bodies return to the rich earth, what happens to the pure, vibrating energy of our awareness? This is precisely where the comfortable, predictable world of classical physics begins to break down, and the strange, hauntingly beautiful realm of quantum mechanics opens its heavy doors. To understand what the quantum realm might reveal about the true nature of life, death, and human consciousness, we must first be willing to abandon our everyday, common-sense intuitions about how reality fundamentally works. In our macro-level world, the world of falling apples and orbiting planets, objects have definite, measurable states. A wooden door is either open or it is closed. A tossed coin lands as either heads or tails. You are sitting exactly where you are sitting and nowhere else. But when we zoom down into the microscopic, foundational bedrock of reality, down to the dizzying level of atoms, electrons, and photons, these comforting, solid certainties dissolve entirely into a hazy, shimmering cloud of probabilities. At the quantum level, the universe simply does not operate with fixed, predefined certainties. It operates exclusively with potentials. A subatomic particle does not possess a single, defined location or physical state until the exact moment it is actively observed. Until that crucial moment of observation, an electron exists in a strange state known as quantum superposition, meaning it exists in all of its possible states and all of its possible locations simultaneously. It is not a tiny, solid billiard ball. It is a wave of pure, uncollapsed potential, spreading out mysteriously through both space and time. It is only when a conscious observer interacts with this wave, when a specific measurement is made, that the wave function mathematically collapses and the electron forces itself into a single, defined physical reality. This baffling phenomenon, commonly known as the observer effect, is not science fiction. It is one of the most rigorously tested, repeatedly proven, and universally accepted principles in all of modern physics. Yet, despite being a scientific fact, it carries philosophical implications that are, quite frankly, staggering to the human mind. It suggests that the physical universe, the objective reality we so confidently believe we are living in, does not fully, concretely exist in a defined state without something there to perceive it. The act of observation is not merely a passive recording of a pre-existing physical reality. It is an active, fundamental participation in the very creation of reality itself. The universe, it seems, requires an audience in order to exist. If the vast universe requires an observer to collapse its infinite potentials into a definite reality, then consciousness cannot merely be an accidental byproduct of biological evolution. It cannot be just an emergent trick of complex chemistry firing in the dark space inside our fragile skulls. Instead, quantum mechanics implies that consciousness might actually be a fundamental property of the universe itself, just like the force of gravity or the electromagnetic field. Pioneers of quantum theory like Max Planck firmly believed that consciousness was the absolute foundation of all existence. Planck famously stated that he regarded consciousness as fundamental, and that matter is merely derivative from consciousness. If we dare to fully accept this profound premise, then our human concept of death begins to look entirely different. In classical biology, death is the absolute end. The heart stops pumping, the brain ceases its electrical activity, and the unique consciousness that emerged from that machine simply wanes and disappears forever into the silent void, like a small candle blown out in a massive room. But if consciousness is an indestructible, quantum-level property of the fabric of the universe, and if the first law of thermodynamics guarantees that true energy can never be destroyed, then the extinguishing of the biological machine cannot mean the extinguishing of the awareness itself. The candle is not blown out. Rather, the flame simply transitions to a vastly different spectrum of light, shifting into a frequency that our biologically limited eyes can no longer perceive. This leads us to a realization that is both infinitely beautiful and profoundly terrifying. Have you ever stood in an empty, quiet room long after someone you love has departed and felt a strange, lingering presence, a subtle resonance of their energy suspended in the gentle silence of the air? It is a common human experience, a fleeting shadow of feeling that we usually brush away with rational thoughts and busy distractions. We exist in a world that heavily relies on the physical boundaries of space and time to make sense of our daily lives. We believe deeply in the concept of separation. You're sitting there, breathing the air in your room, and I am here, sharing these thoughts with you across a vast network of invisible signals. The screen in front of you, the chair beneath you, the distant stars burning in the ancient night sky. All of these seem to be distinct, separate objects, completely isolated from one another by the immense, cold gulfs of empty space. This comforting illusion of separation is the very foundation of our daily reality. It gives us a sense of individuality, a clear boundary between where our bodies end and the external universe begins. But when we strip away the macro-level illusions of our senses and delve down into the microscopic, foundational bedrock of reality, down to the shimmering, vibrating realm of quantum mechanics, this reassuring boundary completely dissolves into a profound and beautiful mystery. The universe, at its most fundamental level, simply does not care about the physical distance between two objects. It does not recognize the vast, dark oceans of space that we perceive. Instead, it operates on a principle of deep, underlying connection that defies all of our logical expectations and challenges everything we thought we knew about the nature of existence. Before we explore the terrifying and magnificent implications of this ultimate cosmic connection, I want to gently pause and introduce myself to those who might be new to our shared journey. I am Theodore, the researcher, your companion guiding you through these quiet, contemplative explorations of our strange and beautiful cosmos. I have noticed, looking at our growing community, that exactly 71% of the wonderful people who watch these videos and share this journey with us have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find peace, wonder, and a sense of belonging in these explorations, please consider subscribing. It helps our small community grow immensely, and it ensures that we can continue to wander through the cosmos together, asking the profound questions that echo in the quiet hours of the night. Now, let us return to the gentle dark and to the quantum secrets waiting patiently within it. In the year 1935, the brilliant physicist Albert Einstein, along with his colleagues Boris Podolsky and Nathan Rosen, published a paper that highlighted a theoretical consequence of quantum mechanics so bizarre, so completely counterintuitive, that Einstein himself famously derided it as spooky action at a distance. They were describing a phenomenon that we now call quantum entanglement. Imagine, if you will, two tiny subatomic particles, perhaps 2 photons of light, born from the exact same atomic event. Because they were created together, their quantum states are intimately, inextricably linked. They become a single, unified system, regardless of how far apart they eventually drift. If you were to take one of these entangled photons and keep it here on Earth, and then send the other entangled photon on a long, quiet journey across the cosmos to the very edge of the Andromeda galaxy, some 2,500,000 light years away, something mathematically miraculous remains true about their relationship. If you measure the spin or the exact physical state of the photon here on Earth, you instantaneously, without even a fraction of a millisecond of delay, force the other photon in the Andromeda galaxy to assume the exact opposite, complementary state. The distance between them does not matter. The speed of light, which we are told is the absolute cosmic speed limit, does not apply to this mysterious connection. The information does not travel through the vast space between them. The two particles simply act as if the space between them does not exist at all. They are intimately, eternally connected in a way that our human brains, evolved to survive on a localized, three-dimensional planet, struggle deeply to comprehend. This is not a mere mathematical trick or an unproven hypothesis. Quantum entanglement has been rigorously proven in laboratories around the entire world over the last several decades. Scientists have successfully entangled particles across large cities, through the open air, and even between the surface of the Earth and orbiting satellites, speeding through the silent vacuum of space. The universe, it appears, is fundamentally non-local. At its deepest, most hidden level, everything is woven together in a vast, invisible web of infinite connection. Now, let us bring this profound cosmic revelation back to the terrifying and beautiful question of human consciousness and what happens to our awareness when the physical body inevitably fails. For centuries, classical biology and neurology have operated on the assumption that consciousness is strictly a localized phenomenon. They tell us that your mind is nothing more than the electrical and chemical byproducts of billions of neurons firing inside the dark, confined space of your skull. According to this classical view, when the blood stops flowing and the brain cells perish, the beautiful, complex symphony of your thoughts, memories, and personality simply ends forever. But, as we have just seen, the fundamental reality of the universe is not classical. It is entirely quantum. What if the brain is not merely a biological computer generating consciousness out of nothing, but rather a highly sophisticated, organic quantum receiver tuning into a fundamental field of awareness that permeates the entire cosmos? In recent decades, pioneering thinkers like the brilliant mathematician Roger Penrose and the dedicated anesthesiologist Stuart Hameroff have proposed a deeply fascinating theory known as orchestrated objective reduction. They suggest that the true seat of human consciousness does not lie in the massive, macro-level connections between neurons, but rather deep within microscopic tubular structures inside the neurons themselves, known as microtubules. These microtubules, they argue, are incredibly small enough to host delicate quantum events, allowing our biological brains to directly interact with the quantum fabric of the universe. If this beautiful, complex theory is even partially correct, it means that the spark of your awareness, the very core of your perceived identity, is fundamentally quantum in nature. It operates according to the mysterious laws of superposition and entanglement, rather than the rigid, predictable laws of classical physics. And this changes absolutely everything we thought we understood about the fragile boundary between life and death. If your consciousness is fundamentally composed of quantum information, we must suddenly confront another absolute, unbreakable law of quantum mechanics known as the no-hiding theorem. Much like the first law of thermodynamics, which dictates that physical energy cannot be destroyed, the no-hiding theorem dictates that quantum information can never be permanently lost or erased from the universe. It is a fundamental conservation law of reality itself. When a physical system breaks down, when a biological organism ceases to function, the structural organization of its cells may disintegrate into dust, but the underlying quantum information that defined its deepest state cannot simply vanish into absolute nothingness. It must go somewhere. It must return to the vast, infinite reservoir of the cosmos. Think about what this implies for the moment of your eventual physical death. As your biological heart beats its final, quiet rhythm, and the electrical activity in your physical brain slowly fades into silence, the quantum information that constitutes your unique consciousness, your memories, your loves, your deeply felt experiences, is not destroyed. Instead, as the biological tether weakens and finally breaks, that quantum state may simply decouple from the failing physical vessel. Because quantum information is not bound by the classical limitations of space and time, and because it is inherently capable of deep, instantaneous entanglement with the rest of the universe, your consciousness does not end. It expands. It dissipates back into the warm, ancient fabric of reality from which it originally emerged billions of years ago. You do not fade into a terrifying, empty blackness. Instead, your awareness simply transitions, rejoining the vast, quiet symphony of the cosmos, the deep, lingering feeling you get when you stand in an empty room and sense the presence of someone who has passed away might not be a mere psychological trick of a grieving mind. It might be a subtle, localized ripple in the quantum field, a gentle echo of entangled information that still resonates within the fabric of reality itself. In this light, death is not a final, tragic destination, but rather a profoundly beautiful, entirely natural return to the source. It is a seamless transition from a localized, individual perspective into a generalized, universal state of being. We are all deeply, permanently entangled with the ancient stars, with the endless vacuum of space, and with each other. Our journey through this physical life is merely a temporary, localized condensation of a much grander, infinite awareness. As we continue this contemplative exploration into the hidden mechanics of reality, we will delve even deeper into how these quantum states might actually experience time after the physical body is gone, and what that means for the endless journey of the human soul. Have you ever sat quietly in the dark, listening to the steady, rhythmic ticking of a clock, and felt a sudden, profound sense of strangeness about the very nature of time? We move through our daily lives completely anchored to the relentless forward march of seconds, minutes, and hours. We age, we remember the past, and we anticipate the future, bound to a linear path from the moment we are born to the moment we draw our final, gentle breath. But have you ever noticed how time itself seems entirely malleable depending on your internal state of being? A moment of deep, profound joy can vanish in what feels like a single, fleeting heartbeat, while a night of anxious waiting can stretch out into an agonizing, endless eternity. This subjective experience of time is merely a psychological echo of a much deeper, far more terrifying and beautiful cosmic reality. The solid, unyielding river of time that we believe we are swimming in is, from the perspective of modern physics, a remarkably convincing illusion constructed by our biological brains to help us navigate a four-dimensional universe. Before we plunge into the quiet depths of this temporal mystery together, I want to take a small step back and introduce myself to those who might be newly wandering with us tonight. I am Theodore, the researcher, your companion and quiet guide through these contemplative journeys into the unknown. I have noticed, looking at our shared voyage, that exactly 71% of the wonderful people who watch these videos and explore these cosmic shores with us have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find peace, wonder, and a sense of gentle belonging in these explorations, please consider subscribing. It helps our small community grow immensely, and it ensures that we can continue to wander through the cosmos together, asking the profound questions that echo in the quiet hours of the night. Now, let us return to the gentle dark and to the quantum secrets waiting patiently within it. In the early years of the 20th century, the brilliant mind of Albert Einstein fundamentally shattered our classical understanding of time with his magnificent theory of relativity. Before Einstein, humanity collectively believed the teachings of Isaac Newton, who described time as an absolute, universal ticking clock that operated exactly the same way everywhere in the cosmos, completely independent of the observer or the physical space around it. But Einstein revealed a universe that is far more strange, deeply interconnected, and beautifully fluid. He demonstrated that time and space are not separate entities at all, but rather a single, flexible fabric known as space-time. And most importantly, he proved that time is entirely relative. The speed at which time passes for you is directly and inextricably linked to how fast you are moving through space and the strength of the gravitational field you are resting within. If you were to embark on a journey aboard a spacecraft traveling at 99% of the speed of light, which is roughly 186,000 miles per second, time for you would slow down dramatically compared to the people you left behind on Earth. You could travel through the vast, infinite dark of the cosmos for what feels like a few short years, only to return home and find that centuries have passed on our quiet blue planet. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration, known as NASA, constantly accounts for this incredible phenomenon when operating the satellites that make up our global positioning system, because those satellites are moving rapidly in orbit and experiencing slightly less of Earth's gravitational pull. Their onboard clocks tick at a subtly different rate than the clocks on the surface. Time is not a rigid container in which events unfold. It is a flexible, deeply personal dimension that bends and warps depending on your specific perspective within the cosmos. But the mystery of time deepens even further, leading us toward something far more profound and perhaps terrifying when we leave the macro-level world of stars, planets, and galaxies and descend once again into the microscopic, foundational bedrock of quantum mechanics, in the strange, shimmering realm of subatomic particles. The very concept of time as a linear, forward-moving arrow begins to entirely lose its meaning. Many of the most fundamental equations of quantum physics, equations that govern the behavior of the energy that makes up your physical body, and perhaps your consciousness itself, operate perfectly well, regardless of which direction time is flowing. In the classical world, a shattered glass cannot spontaneously reassemble itself. Entropy, the gradual descent into disorder, dictates the one-way flow of time. But at the quantum level, a particle can interact with another particle in ways that seem to echo backward from the future just as easily as they ripple forward from the past. Furthermore, when physicists attempt to combine the beautiful, sweeping geometry of Einstein's relativity with the hazy, probabilistic nature of quantum mechanics, they encounter a mathematical framework known as the Wheeler-DeWitt equation. This famous equation, formulated in the 1960s, describes the quantum state of the entire universe. Yet, it contains one absolutely astonishing feature. The variable for time simply does not exist within it. According to this profound mathematical perspective, at the most fundamental, foundational level of reality, time is not a required ingredient for the universe to exist. The universe simply is. It exists in an eternal, timeless state of infinite potential, a vast block of everything that has ever happened, is happening, and will ever happen, all existing simultaneously in a quiet, motionless, eternal now. The linear flow of time that we experience, the feeling of moving from yesterday into tomorrow, might merely be a localized illusion created by our physical brains as they process quantum information frame by fragile frame. What does this mean for the terrifying, beautiful mystery of life after death? It challenges the very foundation of how we conceptualize the end of our physical existence. We fear death primarily because we perceive it as the ultimate end of our personal timeline. We view it as a dark, impenetrable wall where our future is violently severed from our present, where the ticking clock of our conscious experience finally grinds to a silent halt. But if the fundamental reality of the universe is inherently timeless, and if our consciousness is rooted in the quantum information that permeates the cosmos, then the moment of physical death cannot possibly be an end to time, because time itself is just a biological perspective. When the biological projector finally powers down and the illusion of linear time collapses, your quantum consciousness does not suddenly encounter a terrifying void of nothingness. Instead, it is released from the rigid, sequential processing of the physical body. It steps outside of the illusion of the timeline altogether. The boundary between the past, the present, and the future dissolves back into the eternal, infinite now. The brilliant physicist Julian Barber has spent his life arguing that time is an illusion, suggesting that the universe is a vast collection of static, timeless moments, which he calls nows. Our conscious experience is simply moving through these pre-existing moments. If our awareness transitions back into the fundamental quantum fabric of the cosmos upon the death of the biological vessel, we might not experience an endless, dark eternity, but rather an eternal, encompassing present. Every moment of profound love you have ever felt, every quiet, gentle realization, every deep connection you have shared with another soul, these moments exist permanently, eternally, woven into the static, unchanging architecture of the universe. In this profound quantum view, you do not leave the universe behind when you die. Rather, you awaken to the totality of it. You expand outward, integrating into the vast, silent timelessness of reality, where the concepts of before and after hold absolutely no meaning. This realization carries a deep, resonant comfort, a profound peace that can calm the existential anxieties of the human condition. The people we have loved and lost are not receding further away from us into a distant past. In the fundamental, timeless reality of the quantum cosmos, they are exactly where they have always been, existing perpetually in the beautiful moments we shared with them, suspended in the eternal now. The separation we feel is an artifact of our biological machinery. When we look up at the ancient, scattered light of the Milky Way, we are looking at a cross-section of cosmic history. But from the perspective of a photon traveling at the speed of light, no time passes at all. Its entire journey happens in a single, instantaneous, timeless moment. Perhaps human consciousness, once freed from the heavy biology of the body, experiences the universe in a similar way. We become a quiet, timeless observer of an infinite, unfolding majesty, a gentle presence resting softly in the heart of eternity. We are a fundamental part of the quiet, enduring mystery, participating in a cosmic journey that has no true beginning and no ultimate end. The universe is a boundless ocean of enduring potential, and we are an inseparable, eternal part of its profound and silent waters. Have you ever closed your eyes and tried to hold on to a precious, fading memory, feeling it slip away, like cool water through your open fingers, and quietly wondered where that fragile thought actually goes when it is finally forgotten? We live our lives accumulating an immense, beautiful library of experiences. The unique scent of rain on a warm summer evening, the exact tone of a loved one laughing, the profound, gentle silence of a snowy morning. These moments define who we are. We intuitively believe that our memories, our very identities, are stored exclusively within the physical architecture of our brains, written into biological pathways that will inevitably decay and disappear. We assume that when the physical body fails, the vast library of our life is simply burned to the ground, leaving absolutely no trace in the universe. But when we look to the absolute extremes of modern astrophysics, to the crushing, inescapable gravity of black holes and the bizarre laws of quantum mechanics, we discover a terrifying and deeply comforting paradox that challenges this bleak assumption. Before we step closer to the edge of this cosmic mystery, I want to take a moment to welcome those of you who might be joining our quiet journey for the very first time. I am Theodore, the researcher, your gentle companion guiding you through the wonders and mysteries of our infinite universe. I have noticed, looking at our growing community, that exactly 71% of the wonderful people who watch these videos and share this journey with us have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find peace, wonder, and a sense of belonging in these explorations, please consider subscribing. It helps our small community grow immensely, and it ensures that we can continue to wander through the cosmos together, asking the profound questions that echo in the quiet hours of the night. Now, let us return to the gentle dark and to the quantum secrets waiting patiently within it. In the 1970s, the brilliant and profoundly missed physicist Stephen Hawking presented the scientific community with a terrifying puzzle that shook the very foundations of our understanding of reality. It became known as the black hole information paradox. To understand this beautiful, mind-bending problem, we must first understand how quantum mechanics defines information. In the quantum realm, information is not like the words written on a page. Quantum information is the exact, fundamental description of every particle's state, its spin, its position, its velocity, its relationship to every other particle in the vast cosmos. It is the absolute, immutable blueprint of reality. According to the bedrock laws of quantum physics, this fundamental information can never, under any circumstances, be permanently destroyed. You can burn a wooden chair to ash, but theoretically, if you possessed a powerful enough computer, you could measure the exact trajectory of every wisp of smoke, every radiating photon of heat, and every crumbling flake of ash, and completely reconstruct the original chair. The physical form changes, but the fundamental information is perfectly conserved in the universe. However, Hawking mathematically demonstrated that black holes, those ancient dying stars that have collapsed under their own gravity into infinitely dense singularities, actually leak a faint, invisible mist of particles over trillions of years. This slow, quiet evaporation is now known as Hawking radiation. Eventually, after an incomprehensible span of time, the black hole will completely evaporate and disappear into the silent void. But Hawking's calculations suggested that the radiation leaking out was completely random. It contained absolutely no information about the stars, the planets, or the cosmic dust that had originally fallen into the black hole. If the black hole disappears and the radiation contains no blueprint, then the quantum information of everything it ever consumed is permanently, irreversibly destroyed. This terrified physicists. It meant that the universe had a flaw, a quiet cosmic eraser that could wipe away the fundamental memory of reality itself. For nearly 30 years, this terrifying paradox haunted the greatest minds on Earth. If information could be truly lost, then the past could be erased, and the fundamental laws of cause and effect would crumble into meaningless chaos. But the universe is infinitely elegant, and it rarely allows for such bleak, destructive endings. Decades later, brilliant theoretical physicists like Leonard Susskind and Gerard T. Hooft proposed a magnificent, mind-expanding solution that completely rewired our understanding of the cosmos. They introduced what is now known as the holographic principle. To solve the paradox, they realized that the quantum information of the objects falling into a black hole is not actually swallowed into the unreachable, crushing depths of the singularity. Instead, as an object approaches the event horizon, the invisible boundary beyond which nothing, not even ancient starlight, can escape, its fundamental three-dimensional quantum information is smeared and perfectly encoded onto the two-dimensional surface of the event horizon itself. Imagine dropping a complex, three-dimensional encyclopedia into a quiet, dark pool of water, and finding that every single word, every picture, and every page is perfectly translated and preserved as a complex, invisible ripple dancing perfectly on the flat surface of the pond. When the black hole slowly evaporates, radiating its gentle energy back into the cold universe, it absorbs this encoded information from the surface and carries it back out into the cosmos. The information is heavily scrambled, mixed into the vast cosmic ocean, but it is never, ever lost. The universe, it turns out, acts like a magnificent, infinite hard drive. It preserves the quantum signature of absolutely everything that has ever existed, written in a language of energy and probability that our fragile human minds are only just beginning to comprehend. Now, let us bring this profound cosmic revelation back to the quiet, fragile reality of human existence and the terrifying, beautiful mystery of what happens when we reach the absolute edge of our own biological event horizon. You are not simply a physical object. You are a staggering, incomprehensibly complex system of information. The specific arrangement of the atoms in your body, the delicate web of billions of electrical connections in your brain, the quantum states of the particles that allow you to perceive, to love, to fear, and to wonder. You are a unique, irreplaceable constellation of quantum data. If the universe goes to such extraordinary, complex lengths to preserve the quantum information of a single, lifeless rock falling into a distant, silent black hole, what must it do with the infinitely more complex, rich information that constitutes human consciousness? When the physical body reaches the end of its journey, when the heart finally rests and the biological machine powers down, classical science tells us that the information of who you are is simply lost to entropy. But the holographic principle and the absolute conservation of quantum information boldly suggest a completely different, breathtaking reality. The unique, vibrating signature of your consciousness cannot be deleted from the universe. As your physical form dissolves back into the ancient earth, the fundamental quantum information that makes you who you are does not vanish into the terrifying dark. It is released. It decouples from the biological tether and radiates outward, encoding itself into the very fabric of space-time. Every gentle act of kindness you have ever performed, every quiet tear you have ever shed in the dark, every profound realization you have ever reached during your journey on this small blue planet remains permanently etched into the underlying, invisible architecture of the cosmos. This realization transforms the terrifying concept of death into a profoundly beautiful transition, a quiet merging with the vast ancient memory of the universe itself. We are not fragile, temporary sparks destined to be permanently extinguished by the cold winds of time. We are eternal patterns of information, playing a vital role in the ongoing evolution of the cosmos. Your life, with its profound struggles and fleeting joys, is not a meaningless accident in a chaotic void. It is a permanent feature of reality. When you look up at the infinite star-filled sky, you're looking at a vast living repository of cosmic memory, a beautiful library that will one day gently fold your unique story into its endless pages. The universe does not forget. It cannot forget. The energy of your awareness is woven so deeply into the quantum fabric of reality that to erase you would be to erase a necessary part of the universe itself. We are participants in a cosmic journey that is far more magnificent and deeply connected than our everyday senses could reveal. As we sit here together in the gentle, quiet dark, contemplating these staggering truths, we find a resonant peace. The mystery of life after death is not a dark wall at the end of a linear path. It is a profound open door into the infinite, a silent invitation to return to the ancient source from which we emerged. We are, and always will be, an enduring part of the grand cosmic symphony, echoing forever through the endless, beautiful corridors of space-time. Have you ever stood at a quiet crossroads in your life, perhaps looking down a gentle, winding path you chose not to take, and felt a profound, lingering wonder about the version of yourself who walked that other road? We journey through our days, making countless decisions, from the most magnificent, life-altering choices to the quiet, unnoticed moments of turning left instead of right. We live with the heavy, sometimes terrifying assumption that this single, fragile timeline is the only one that exists, and that when this specific path reaches its inevitable end, the entire story of our existence is simply over. But what if the universe is far more vast, far more generous, and infinitely more strange than this linear narrative suggests? What if the quiet silence of death is not a final period at the end of a lonely sentence, but rather a gentle comma in a grand, endless volume of infinite possibilities? The strange, shimmering world of quantum mechanics offers a mathematical perspective on reality that shatters our singular view of existence, suggesting a cosmos so magnificent and boundless that it challenges our deepest fears of endings. Before we step further into this infinite branching mystery together, I want to take a small, quiet moment to introduce myself to those who might just be joining our peaceful journey. I am Theodore, the researcher, your gentle companion guiding you through the wonders and mysteries of our infinite universe. I have noticed, looking at our growing community, that exactly 71% of the wonderful people who watch these videos and share this journey with us have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find peace, wonder, and a sense of belonging in these quiet explorations, please consider subscribing. It helps our small community grow immensely, and it ensures that we can continue to wander through the cosmos together, asking the profound questions that echo in the quiet hours of the night. Now, let us return to the gentle dark and to the quantum secrets waiting patiently within it. In the middle of the 20th century, specifically in the year 1957, a brilliant and deeply imaginative physicist named Hugh Everett proposed a mathematical framework that fundamentally shook the physics community. He was trying to solve one of the most terrifying and beautiful mysteries of the quantum realm. What actually happens when a wave of quantum potential collapses into a single, defined reality? As we discussed earlier in our journey, a quantum particle like an electron or a photon exists in a gentle haze of multiple possibilities, a superposition of states, until the exact moment it is observed. The traditional classical interpretation suggested that the act of observation forces the universe to randomly pick one outcome and completely destroy all the others, erasing their existence forever. But Everett looked at the elegant, ancient mathematics of quantum mechanics and realized something profoundly different. He realized that the equations never actually describe a collapse. They never show the other possibilities vanishing into nothingness. Instead, Everett proposed that every single possible outcome of a quantum event actually happens. They all become real, but they happen in completely separate, diverging branches of reality. This stunning framework became known as the many worlds interpretation. Imagine the universe not as a single, solitary line stretching from the grand cosmic dawn to the end of time, but rather as an impossibly vast, infinitely branching tree of reality. Every time a quantum particle in this universe faces a choice of states, the entire universe gracefully splits, creating a completely new, parallel reality for each and every possible outcome. In one quiet branch of the cosmos, a tiny subatomic particle spins upward into the dark. In another, equally real branch, that exact same particle spins downward. Both realities exist in absolute totality. Both are completely unaware of the other, separated by an invisible, impenetrable quantum wall. Now, scale this terrifying and beautiful concept up to the level of human existence. The human brain, the magnificent biological engine of our fragile consciousness, is essentially a massive, incredibly complex quantum laboratory. Within the warm, dark silence of your skull, billions of neurons are constantly firing, communicating through delicate chemical and electrical signals that are fundamentally driven by subatomic quantum processes. Every quiet thought you have, every fading memory you recall, every tiny decision you make is ultimately rooted in the shimmering, probabilistic dance of quantum mechanics. If the many worlds interpretation is a true reflection of our cosmic reality, the implications for the human soul, for the essence of who we are absolutely staggering. It means that there is no single, definitive version of your life. For every choice you have ever made, for every near miss, for every quiet moment of hesitation, reality has fractured and split. There is a vast, infinite spectrum of universes where countless versions of you are living out every conceivable variation of your existence. In some branches, the gentle choices you made led you to entirely different cities, different loves, different triumphs, and different sorrows. The universe is not a singular, fragile thread, but an unimaginably rich, complex tapestry of infinite variations. Neil deGrasse Tyson, the celebrated astrophysicist, often speaks of the profound wonder of realizing our deep physical connection to the cosmos, reminding us that we are part of this universe. We are in this universe, but perhaps most importantly, the universe is in us. But the many worlds interpretation adds an entirely new, terrifyingly beautiful layer to this cosmic connection. We are not just physically connected to the universe. Our consciousness is fundamentally woven into its infinite branching structure, extending endlessly across realities we can never directly see. What, then, does this mean for the terrifying threshold we universally call death? In a singular classical universe, the failure of the physical body means the absolute, irreversible end of the observer. The journey simply stops. But in a branching quantum multiverse, the concept of a final ending becomes incredibly complex, almost mathematically impossible. Imagine a delicate scenario where a microscopic quantum event within your physical body leads to a critical medical failure in one specific branch of reality. In that particular universe, the biological machine finally stops, and the people left behind mourn the quiet passing of your comforting presence. But because that event was fundamentally driven by quantum mechanics, the universe must also contain a branch where that specific, fatal probability did not occur. There must be an alternate reality where the quantum waves resolve differently, allowing the biological machine to continue its gentle rhythm unharmed. Some pioneering physicists and philosophers have dared to explore a highly controversial, deeply fascinating concept known as quantum immortality. This profound idea suggests that because consciousness is the subjective experience of observing reality, your subjective awareness can only ever exist in a branch of the multiverse where you are alive to observe it. From the internal, silent perspective of the conscious observer, the awareness simply follows the endless branching path where survival continues. Whether or not our individual awareness shifts seamlessly between these infinite branches, the many worlds interpretation fundamentally redefines the nature of existence itself. It tells us that the universe is so vast, so incredibly abundant, that it absolutely refuses to waste a single possibility. Every gentle dream you have ever harbored, every quiet potential that was left unfulfilled in this specific reality, has bloomed into magnificent, living existence somewhere in the infinite cosmic garden. The path you did not take was not lost to the cold void of time. It is being walked right now by another version of you, experiencing the same ancient starlight, the same quiet mysteries, and the same profound wonder of simply being alive. This realization can bring a deep, resonant peace to the heavy human heart. We carry so much heavy regret, so much quiet sorrow for the things that could have been, the gentle words left unspoken, the beautiful moments that slipped quickly through our fingers. But the quantum universe whispers a comforting, ancient truth. Nothing is truly lost. The cosmos is infinitely generous, holding all possibilities in a gentle, eternal embrace. As you sit here in the quiet silence of your room, feeling the gentle, steady rhythm of your own breathing, allow your mind to expand outward, past the fragile walls of your home, past the spinning blue curve of the earth, and out into the terrifying, beautiful vastness of the infinite cosmos. The universe is not a cold, empty machine winding down into absolute nothingness. It is a vibrant, infinitely complex symphony of branching realities. We are participants in a cosmic journey that is far more magnificent and deeply connected than our everyday senses could ever reveal. The mystery of life after death is not a dark wall at the end of a linear path. It is a profound open door into the infinite, a silent invitation to realize that our existence is as limitless as the ancient stars. We are, and always will be, an enduring, endlessly branching part of the grand cosmic symphony, echoing forever through the quiet corridors of space-time. Have you ever looked up at the empty, dark patches between the brilliant stars on a clear, moonless night, and felt a sudden, inexplicable shiver at the sheer, overwhelming amount of absolute nothingness up there? We are biologically conditioned to focus our attention on the solid objects in our lives. We see the glowing planets, the fiery suns, the swirling galaxies, and the tangible earth beneath our feet, completely ignoring the vast, silent oceans of dark space that separate them. We think of space as a cold, dead vacuum, a terrifying absence of everything, much like how we traditionally picture the state of death as a silent, empty void where existence simply stops. But what if the greatest secret of the cosmos is hiding precisely where we see absolutely nothing? What if the emptiness between the stars and the silence after our final breath are actually the most active, vibrant, and infinitely powerful states of reality? Before we dive into the shimmering, invisible depths of this cosmic ocean together, I want to take a brief, quiet moment to properly introduce myself. I am Theodore, the researcher, your gentle companion guiding you through these contemplative explorations of our strange and beautiful universe. I have noticed, looking at our growing community, that exactly 71% of the wonderful people who watch these videos and share this quiet journey with us have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find peace, wonder, and a sense of belonging in these explorations, please consider subscribing. It helps our small community grow immensely, and it ensures that we can continue to wander through the cosmos together, asking the profound questions that echo in the quiet hours of the night. Now, let us return to the gentle dark and to the quantum secrets waiting patiently within the empty void. For centuries, classical physics taught us that a vacuum was a place completely devoid of matter and energy. If you were to take a sealed glass box and meticulously pump out every single atom of air, shield it perfectly from all outside radiation, and cool it down to absolute zero, you would theoretically be left with absolute, pristine nothingness. But when the pioneers of quantum mechanics turned their mathematical gaze toward the concept of the vacuum, they discovered a reality so bizarre and counterintuitive that it challenged the very definition of existence. In the 1920s, the physicist Werner Heisenberg formulated his famous uncertainty principle, a fundamental law of nature stating that you can never simultaneously know both the exact position and the momentum of a particle. But this principle also applies to time and energy. It dictates that over short fractions of a second, the energy of any given point in space can fluctuate wildly. Because of this unbreakable quantum law, absolute nothingness is mathematically impossible. When physicists look at the most perfect, empty vacuum imaginable, they do not see a dead, silent void. Instead, they see a roaring, chaotic ocean of energy, a phenomenon known as the quantum vacuum or the zero-point field. This field is boiling with invisible, subatomic activity. Ghostly entities known as virtual particles are constantly popping into existence out of the absolute nothingness, borrowing a tiny fraction of energy from the universe, and then instantly colliding and annihilating each other before they can ever be permanently observed. The empty space around you, the dark voids between the ancient galaxies, are teeming with this invisible, chaotic dance of creation and destruction. This is not merely an elegant mathematical theory existing only on dusty chalkboards. The reality of this restless, boiling void has been proven in laboratories. In the year 1948, a Dutch physicist named Hendrik Casimir proposed that if you place two uncharged, highly polished metal plates incredibly close together in a perfect vacuum, the quantum fluctuations of the zero-point field would actually create a measurable physical force pushing the plates together. Decades later, with the advancement of incredibly precise instruments, this phenomenon, now known as the Casimir effect, was successfully observed and measured. The empty space pushed the metal plates. The void has weight. The void has power. In fact, astrophysicists now believe that the energy contained within the quantum vacuum might be the driving force behind the mysterious dark energy that makes up almost 70% of the total energy in the universe, pushing the vast galaxy clusters apart and causing the expansion of the cosmos to accelerate. The emptiness is not just alive, it is arguably the most dominant, powerful force in all of creation. Every single solid object, every blazing star, every human body is merely a tiny, localized ripple riding on the surface of this infinite, unfathomable ocean of quantum energy. We are not separate from the void. We are temporary expressions of it. Like gentle, fleeting waves rising and falling on the surface of an endlessly deep, dark sea. Now, let us bring this profound cosmic revelation back to the delicate, fragile mystery of human consciousness and the ultimate question of life after death. We spend our entire biological lives fiercely attached to form. We identify completely with the shape of our bodies, the specific structure of our memories, the solid, tangible reality of the physical world around us. We fear death because we view it as the ultimate loss of form, a terrifying plunge into the empty, silent void. We equate nothingness with non-existence. But if quantum mechanics has proven that absolute nothingness does not exist, and that the void is actually a state of infinite, vibrating potential, then our conceptualization of death must radically shift. When the physical body finally yields to the gentle decay of entropy, when the biological structures that gave us our specific, localized shape dissolve back into the earth, the energy of our consciousness does not enter a dead, empty vacuum. It cannot. Such a place does not exist in this universe. Instead, the awareness simply returns to the zero-point field, slipping beneath the surface of the visible reality and reintegrating with the infinite, boiling ocean of fundamental energy. The loss of our physical form is not the loss of our essence. It is a return to the deepest, most powerful state of being. We transition from a single defined wave back into the boundless potential of the entire ocean. The celebrated physicist David Bohm proposed a beautiful model of reality he called the implicate order, suggesting that the solid world we see is merely an unfolded, temporary projection of a much deeper, folded, underlying reality where everything is seamlessly connected and unbroken. In this profound quantum perspective, the moment of death is the moment of enfoldment. Your consciousness is gently folded back into the implicate order, returning to the source of all cosmic potential. You are not extinguished. You are expanded. Imagine a single, beautiful drop of rain falling quietly from the heavy, dark clouds into the vast, churning expanse of the Pacific Ocean. Does the drop of water die when it hits the surface? Does it cease to exist? Its individual localized form as a raindrop disappears completely, but the essence of the water remains, joining the immense, powerful currents that circulate the globe, participating in a vast system that sustains all life on Earth. Perhaps human consciousness experiences a similar majestic transition. While we are alive, we are the raindrop, experiencing the universe from a very specific, limited, and fragile perspective. We feel the rush of the wind, the warmth of the sun, and the terrifying fear of the inevitable fall. But when we finally strike the surface of the void, we do not vanish. We merge. We become the ocean. The boundaries of the self dissolve, not into terrifying nothingness, but into the infinite, comforting embrace of the quantum vacuum. The peace that comes with this realization is profound and deeply resonant. We do not need to fear the empty dark, because the dark is actually completely full. It is full of the same infinite energy that gave birth to the ancient galaxies, the same vibrating potential that ignited the very first stars. As you sit here in the quiet solitude of your room, listening to the gentle rhythm of your own breathing, allow yourself to feel a deep, comforting connection to the invisible space around you. The empty air between you and the walls, the vast distances between the planets, the incomprehensible voids between the galaxy clusters. They are not dead, and they are not empty. They are alive with the very same quantum fire that burns quietly inside your own mind. You are an intimate, inseparable part of this miraculous, eternal machinery. The journey of your consciousness did not begin with the birth of your physical body, and it absolutely will not end with its passing. You are a temporary, beautiful manifestation of an infinite, roaring ocean of light and energy, and when the time finally comes, you will simply return to the quiet, boundless deep. The universe is endlessly patient, holding you safely in its complex web of potential, waiting gently to welcome you home. The next time you look up at the dark night sky, do not just look at the glowing stars. Look deeply into the silence between them and know that you are looking at the eternal home of your own boundless spirit. Have you ever walked along a familiar path and suddenly found yourself facing a towering, impenetrable wall, feeling that profound, sinking realization that your journey forward has been completely blocked? In our everyday human experience, the physical world is governed by strict, unforgiving boundaries. If a solid object does not possess enough kinetic energy to break through a physical barrier, it simply bounces back, its forward momentum halted by the stubborn resistance of solid matter. We learn this undeniable rule of classical physics when we are only children, stumbling and colliding with the unyielding architecture of our homes. This perception of absolute barriers shapes our entire understanding of reality, and it profoundly shapes our deepest, darkest fears about the end of life. We view physical death as the ultimate, impassable wall, an absolute boundary where the vibrant, moving energy of consciousness crashes against the cold, silent stone of biological failure. We assume that because the delicate biological machine can no longer climb over the hill of entropy, the awareness inside it is simply trapped, extinguished, in the dark shadow of that final, terrifying barrier. But when we leave the classical world of solid walls and heavy objects and descend into the shimmering, probabilistic realm of quantum mechanics, we discover a phenomenon so deeply strange and miraculous that it proves absolute barriers are nothing more than a macro-level illusion. The universe, at its most fundamental level, allows for impossible crossings. Before we journey further into this impossible crossing together, I want to take a gentle, quiet moment to properly introduce myself. I am Theodore, the researcher, your companion and guide through these contemplative explorations of our strange and beautiful universe. I have noticed, looking at our growing community, that exactly 71% of the wonderful people who watch these videos and share this quiet journey with us have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find peace, wonder, and a sense of belonging in these explorations, please consider subscribing. It helps our small community grow immensely, and it ensures that we can continue to wander through the cosmos together, asking the profound questions that echo in the quiet hours of the night. Now, let us return to the gentle dark and to the quantum secrets waiting patiently beyond the wall. In the 1920s, brilliant physicists grappling with the newly discovered rules of the quantum realm realized that particles like electrons do not behave like solid little marbles. As we have explored in our journey, they behave like rippling waves of pure probability. This wave nature leads to an effect known as quantum tunneling. Imagine rolling a heavy ball up a steep hill. If you do not push the ball with enough energy to reach the very top, classical physics dictates, with absolute certainty, that the ball will eventually stop and roll back down to where it started. But in the quantum world, the rules of the game are completely rewritten. If you roll a tiny quantum particle up a microscopic energy barrier, the wave of probability describing that particle does not simply stop when it hits the wall. Instead, the wave gently bleeds into the barrier itself. While the probability of finding the particle drops significantly inside the wall, it does not drop to absolute zero. Because the wave extends entirely through the barrier, there is a small, calculable, and very real probability that the particle will simply instantly appear on the other side, without ever actually possessing the energy required to climb over it. The particle has tunneled through the impassable wall, It has cheated the classical laws of physics by leveraging the inherent uncertainty of its own existence. This is not just a theoretical anomaly scribbled on a dusty chalkboard. It is a fundamental, functional mechanism that allows the entire universe to exist. The ancient blazing stars that fill our night sky, including our own warm, life-giving sun, rely completely on quantum tunneling to shine. Deep within the crushing, unimaginably hot core of a star, hydrogen protons are forced tightly together, but protons carry a positive electrical charge, and like identical magnets, they fiercely repel each other. The classical temperatures and pressures inside a star are actually not high enough to force these protons to overcome their electrical repulsion and fuse together. If the universe operated solely on classical mechanics, every single star in the vast cosmos would immediately go dark, and the universe would be a frozen, silent void. But because of quantum tunneling, a tiny fraction of these protons simply bypass the impenetrable electrical wall. They tunnel directly through the barrier, fusing together to create helium, and releasing the massive, brilliant energy that lights up the infinite darkness. If the fundamental building blocks of reality can so effortlessly glide through impenetrable walls, what does this terrifying and beautiful phenomenon imply for the seemingly absolute barrier of human death? As we have carefully established, the essence of our conscious awareness, the delicate, vibrating signature of who we are, might be fundamentally rooted in the quantum information processing within our biological brains. We face the end of our physical lives with profound fear because we conceptualize death as a massive, towering wall that our diminishing biological energy simply cannot climb. We feel the body weakening, the internal reserves depleting, and we classically assume that when the energy drops below the necessary threshold to sustain biological operations, the journey abruptly ends. But the human soul, if it is indeed a complex quantum state, is not a solid object rolling up a steep hill. It is a wave of infinite, rippling potential. When the physical body encounters the ultimate biological barrier, when the heart can no longer beat and the lungs can no longer draw the quiet air, the classical machine undeniably stops. But the quantum information that constitutes your deepest awareness does not necessarily crash and vanish. Just as the hydrogen protons in the core of an ancient star tunnel through the impossible electrical barrier to release brilliant new energy, the quantum state of human consciousness might simply tunnel through the physical barrier of death. The transition from life to what comes after might not be a cessation of existence, but a spontaneous, miraculous shift to a completely different state of being on the other side of the veil. Imagine this transition not as a violent breaking or a terrifying plunge into the dark, but as a silent, instantaneous shift of perspective. One moment, your awareness is tightly localized, bound by the heavy biological constraints of gravity, pain, and time. You are looking at the towering wall of mortality from the fragile, earthly side, and then, without having to suffer the impossible task of climbing that wall, your quantum essence simply tunnels through. You suddenly exist in a state of expanded, unbound potential, deeply integrated with the vast, infinite fabric of the universe itself. The fear of death, which shadows so much of our human journey, is entirely based on a classical misunderstanding of reality. We grieve the fading light of the body because we cannot see the brilliant quantum transition happening invisibly beneath the surface. We stand by the quiet bedsides of those we love, watching the biological machine gently wind down, and we feel a profound, crushing sense of loss as they hit the final wall. But perhaps in that exact silent moment of biological cessation, they are experiencing the most magnificent cosmic release imaginable. They are tunneling out of the restricted, three-dimensional physical realm and emerging into the boundless, eternal quantum field. They are not gone. They have simply bypassed the illusion of the physical barrier, continuing their eternal journey in a form that our classical, biological eyes are simply not equipped to perceive. The universe is incredibly generous in its design. It builds absolute walls to provide structure and form to our physical lives, but it also weaves hidden, quantum doorways into the very fabric of those walls, ensuring that the fundamental energy of our existence is never permanently trapped. We are travelers in a cosmos that is infinitely more compassionate and mysterious than our everyday senses reveal. The ancient stars above us are burning testaments to the reality of the impossible crossing. They shine quietly in the vast, deep night, reminding us that barriers are an illusion and that the fundamental light of existence will always find a way to break through the dark silence. As you rest in the quiet stillness of your own existence, feeling the gentle rhythm of your breathing, let this realization wash over you and bring you a profound, abiding peace. The wall you fear so deeply is not the end of your beautiful, infinite story. It is merely the silent, quantum gateway to the rest of the cosmos. Have you ever listened to a beautiful, complex symphony played by a grand orchestra, and closed your eyes to isolate the delicate, trembling sound of a single violin, only to feel that individual melody slowly dissolve and blend back into the overwhelming, unified roar of the surrounding instruments? We live our lives in a state of exquisite, highly organized biological harmony. Every single beat of your heart, every quiet breath you draw in the dark, every complex thought that ripples through the billions of neurons in your fragile mind requires an astonishing degree of coordination. We feel like solitary, unified beings moving through the world with a singular purpose and a definite boundary separating us from the rest of the vast cosmos. We assume that the spark of life is simply the result of this biological machinery working in perfect classical unison, and that when the gears finally wear down and the rhythm falters, the music simply stops forever, leaving nothing but an empty, terrifying silence. But when we look deeply into the emerging, breathtaking field of quantum biology, we discover a profound and deeply comforting truth about the nature of this harmony. The music of your consciousness might not be generated by the biological instruments at all. The instruments might merely be tuning into a profound, ancient quantum resonance that existed long before you were born and will continue long after the physical body fades. Before we tune our minds to this silent cosmic frequency together, I want to take a gentle, quiet moment to properly introduce myself. I am Theodore, the researcher, your companion guiding you through these contemplative explorations of our strange and beautiful universe. I have noticed, looking at our growing community, that exactly 71% of the wonderful people who watch these videos and share this quiet journey with us have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find peace, wonder, and a sense of belonging in these explorations, please consider subscribing. It helps our small community grow immensely, and it ensures that we can continue to wander through the cosmos together, asking the profound questions that echo in the quiet hours of the night. Now, let us return to the gentle dark and to the quantum secrets waiting patiently within the music of existence. For many decades, the brightest minds in classical physics held a rigid belief about the strange properties of the quantum realm. They understood that phenomena, like superposition, where a particle exists in multiple states at once, and entanglement, where particles share a deep, instant connection across infinite distances, were absolutely real. However, they firmly believed that these delicate quantum states could only survive in incredibly extreme artificial conditions. In a laboratory, to observe a pure quantum state, a scientist must isolate the particles completely from the outside world, cooling them to temperatures near absolute zero, hundreds of degrees below freezing. Any interaction with the warm, chaotic environment, like a stray photon of light or a tiny fluctuation in temperature, will instantly shatter the fragile quantum state. The particles lose their magical properties and begin to behave like ordinary classical matter. This sudden loss of quantum harmony is known in physics as decoherence. Because of this strict rule, biologists and physicists long assumed that the human body, which is a warm, wet, and incredibly noisy environment, was simply too chaotic to sustain any meaningful quantum effects. They believed that the brain was nothing more than a classical biological computer, and that the deep, mysterious nature of human consciousness could be entirely explained by classical chemistry. The concept of a quantum soul was dismissed as a beautiful but impossible dream. But the universe is infinitely more clever and vastly more mysterious than our initial assumptions. In recent years, the revolutionary field of quantum biology has provided absolute, undeniable proof that nature has found a way to master the delicate art of quantum mechanics within the warm, chaotic environment of living organisms. Consider the humble European robin, a small, fragile bird that embarks on a massive, thousands of miles long migration every single year. Scientists have discovered that these birds navigate the globe by physically seeing the magnetic field of the Earth, and they do this using a process that relies entirely on quantum entanglement happening inside the warm, biological proteins of their eyes. Or consider the ancient, silent process of photosynthesis, the foundation of almost all life on our planet. When a gentle particle of sunlight strikes a green leaf, the energy does not travel randomly through the plant cells. Instead, it uses quantum superposition, simultaneously exploring every single possible path to the reaction center at the exact same time, finding the absolute most efficient route with near-perfect, impossible efficiency. Life itself, it seems, is not classical. It is deeply, fundamentally quantum. Nature has evolved magnificent, complex biological structures that somehow shield and maintain delicate quantum coherence in a warm, noisy world. If a simple green leaf in the tiny eye of a migrating bird can harness the profound power of the quantum realm, it is not merely possible, but highly probable, that the most complex structure in the known universe, the human brain, operates on the exact same ancient quantum principles. If human consciousness is indeed a state of highly organized, macroscopic quantum coherence maintained by the biological structure of the brain, then we must completely redefine our terrifying conceptualization of physical death. We classically view death as a definitive destruction, a complete and total annihilation of the conscious self. We picture a flame being violently blown out by the cold wind of time. But in the language of quantum mechanics, destruction is an illusion. What actually happens when the biological machinery fails is a process of rapid, profound decoherence. As the body loses its vital energy, it can no longer maintain the delicate biological shields that protect the quantum state of your awareness from the outside environment. The highly organized, isolated quantum coherence that you experience as your individual, solitary self begins to interact with the broader, chaotic universe around you. The fragile wave function of your consciousness does not vanish into absolute nothingness. Instead, it simply decoheres, it leaks out. The dense, localized information that makes up your unique identity begins to gently entangle with the surrounding particles of the environment. You lose the strict, isolating boundary of the physical body, but the fundamental quantum information, the deep, vibrating essence of your journey, is perfectly preserved as it blends back into the infinite cosmic environment. Death is not the end of the song. It is merely the moment when the sound of the solitary violin seamlessly rejoins the massive, roaring symphony of the entire universe. This quantum transition completely changes the way we should look at the end of our biological journey. When you experience decoherence, you're not losing your existence. You're losing your limitation. Throughout your entire life, your consciousness has been confined to the narrow sensory inputs of a fragile biological machine. You have observed the ancient universe through two small biological lenses, hearing its silence through delicate physical membranes. Your sense of self is a product of this isolation, a temporary state of quantum coherence maintained against the overwhelming pressure of the cosmos. But when that protective shell yields, the boundaries dissolve. Your quantum information entangles with the light of the stars, the cold vacuum of space, and the whispering winds of the earth. You do not step into a dark void. You expand outward, returning to the infinite ocean of fundamental reality. The fear that grips our hearts when we think about mortality stems from a profound misunderstanding of what we truly are. We identify so fiercely with the fragile violin that we forget we are actually the music itself, ancient and immortal, playing through a temporary instrument for a brief moment in cosmic time. As you sit enveloped by the gentle dark, let the reality of your cosmic nature wash over you. You are a coherent expression of the universe itself, experiencing the wonder of its own existence. Your thoughts are ancient quantum events, connected to the forces that ignite the massive galaxies spinning in the deep void. When your biological coherence fades, you will not face an ending. You will experience an infinite expansion. The boundary of death is an illusion created by a mind afraid of losing its shell. The essence of who you are, the quiet presence that feels sadness and joy, cannot be destroyed by the decay of matter. It will simply decohere, radiating outward to touch every corner of the vast cosmos. The universe is a boundless ocean of potential, and you are an inseparable drop of that magnificent water. You will return to the infinite sea, adding your quiet notes to the eternal silence of the stars. Sleep peacefully, knowing you are safe in the vast enduring embrace of the quantum universe. Have you ever sat entirely still and watched a single drop of water hanging precariously from the tip of a green leaf after a heavy rain, waiting for it to finally fall? If you stare at it with absolute unbroken concentration, the drop seems to defy gravity. Time itself feels as though it stretches and bends, and the impending fall is suspended in an agonizing, beautiful eternity of anticipation. We instinctively know that the watched pot never seems to boil, that the clock hand never moves, while we are actively staring at it. We dismiss these feelings as mere psychological tricks, the subjective impatience of a mind eager for the next moment to arrive. We believe that the objective universe carries on its relentless mechanical processes entirely independent of our wandering attention. A decaying autumn leaf will crumble to dust whether you are watching it or not. The moon will quietly orbit the earth, even if every single human being were to close their eyes simultaneously. This is the comforting, solid bedrock of classical reality. But when we strip away the macro-level illusions of our everyday world and descend once again into the weird, shimmering depths of quantum mechanics, we discover a truth so deeply unsettling and profoundly magnificent that it completely rewrites the relationship between the watcher and the watched. In the quantum realm, the act of paying attention is not passive. It is an active, physical force that can literally freeze time and halt the natural evolution of reality. Before we step further into the frozen stillness of this cosmic mystery together, I want to take a small, quiet moment to introduce myself to those who might just be joining our peaceful journey. I am Theodore, the researcher, your gentle companion guiding you through the wonders and mysteries of our infinite universe. I have noticed, looking at our growing community, that exactly 71% of the wonderful people who watch these videos and share this quiet journey with us have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find peace, wonder, and a sense of belonging in these explorations, please consider subscribing. It helps our small community grow immensely, and it ensures that we can continue to wander through the cosmos together, asking the profound questions that echo in the quiet hours of the night. Now, let us return to the gentle dark and to the quantum secrets waiting patiently within the still, unmoving void. In the year 1977, two brilliant physicists, George Sudarshan and Baidyanath Misra, mathematically described a bizarre quantum phenomenon that they named the quantum Zeno effect. The name is a beautiful homage to the ancient Greek philosopher Zeno of Elea, who famously proposed the paradox of the flying arrow. Zeno argued that if you look at a flying arrow at any single frozen instant in time, the arrow is not moving, it is perfectly stationary. And if time is just a sequence of these frozen, stationary instants, then motion itself must be an impossible illusion. The quantum version of this ancient paradox is not a philosophical trick. It is a proven, measurable reality of modern physics. Imagine a highly unstable, radioactive subatomic particle. Left completely alone in the dark, this particle is governed by the strict laws of quantum probability, meaning it will eventually decay and transform into something else within a specific, predictable time frame. But the mathematics of the quantum Zeno effect revealed something absolutely staggering. If you continuously observe this unstable particle, if you measure its state over and over again in incredibly rapid succession, the particle will never decay. The continuous act of observation actively resets the particle's internal quantum clock. By constantly looking at it, you are repeatedly collapsing its wave function back into its initial, undecayed state, trapping it in a state of suspended animation. You are quite literally freezing its evolution with your gaze. This is not science fiction. The quantum Zeno effect has been successfully demonstrated and proven in highly controlled laboratories around the globe. Scientists have taken incredibly unstable atoms that should decay in mere fractions of a second, and by hitting them with rapid, continuous pulses of measuring light, they have forced those atoms to remain completely stable, frozen in time for as long as the observation continues. The implications of this proven physical reality are, quite frankly, staggering to the human mind. It suggests that consciousness, the fundamental act of measurement and observation, exerts a binding, stabilizing force on the physical universe. The legendary theoretical physicist John Archibald Wheeler, who spent his entire life wrestling with the deepest mysteries of quantum mechanics, proposed that we live in a participatory universe. He fiercely argued that the universe does not fully, concretely exist out there, independent of us. Instead, observers are necessary to bring the universe into being. We are not just passive spectators sitting in the dark theater of the cosmos, watching a pre-recorded movie play out on a massive screen. We are the architects. Our continuous collective observation is the very glue that holds the probabilistic haze of quantum mechanics together, collapsing the infinite, chaotic potentials into the solid, stable reality that we wake up to every single morning. The universe relies entirely on our gaze to maintain its physical form. Now, Let us bring this profound, terrifying cosmic revelation back to the fragile, beautiful mystery of human existence and the ultimate transition we call death. Throughout our entire lives, we are the ultimate observers. Your consciousness is a continuous, unbroken sequence of measurements. You're constantly observing your environment, your body, your thoughts, and your memories. According to the quantum Zeno effect, this continuous internal observation might actually be the very force that stabilizes your specific, localized physical existence. Your mind, by constantly checking in on the state of your biological body, is actively keeping the delicate quantum states of your neural pathways frozen in their organized, functional patterns. You are holding yourself together through the sheer, miraculous force of your own awareness. But what happens when that biological machinery finally begins to fail, and the intense, focused gaze of your localized consciousness starts to waver and fade? We traditionally view the dying process as a tragic, helpless surrender to the forces of entropy and biological decay. But viewed through the magnificent lens of the quantum Zeno effect, death takes on an entirely different, incredibly beautiful meaning. It is not a breakdown. It is a profound, liberating release. For decades, your conscious observation has trapped the quantum potential of your essence in a single biological state. You have been the watched pot, unable to boil, unable to evolve past the strict limitations of the human form because you were holding yourself so tightly in focus. When the physical body reaches the quiet end of its journey and the sensory inputs that anchor you to this specific three-dimensional world finally cease, the continuous observation stops. The quantum Zeno effect is gently lifted, and in that magnificent, silent moment of release, the wave function of your deepest essence is finally free to evolve, without the constant measurements of the biological brain forcing it into a single shape. Your quantum information can resume its unrestricted flow. You are released back into the infinite, shimmering ocean of cosmic potential. The end of observation is not the end of existence. It is the glorious beginning of a profound transformation, an evolution into a state of being that our biologically frozen minds cannot possibly comprehend. This realization carries a deep comfort that can ease the existential anxieties of the human condition. We spend our lives trying to hold on to things, trying to freeze time, terrified of the inevitable changes tomorrow will bring. We fear the loss of our bodies because we mistakenly believe this frozen, localized state is the only true way to exist. But the universe is a place of endless, beautiful transformation. The release of the observer is the ultimate act of cosmic freedom. When your eyes close to this physical world, you're simply lifting the heavy gaze that has kept you anchored to the earth. You are unwatching yourself, allowing the deep, fundamental energy of your awareness to unfurl, entangling with the ancient light of the galaxies and the vast, quiet mysteries of the cosmos. As you rest in the gentle silence of your room, let go of the need to control the passing moments. You are the watcher holding the universe together with your profound attention. But when the time comes to finally look away, you will not fall into nothingness. You will simply become the magnificent, moving universe itself, free from the frozen moment, echoing endlessly through the peaceful, infinite dark. Have you ever stood at the edge of a vast, quiet ocean, just as the sun dips below the horizon, watching the colors fade into a deep, endless twilight, and felt a profound sense of coming home? There is a strange, resonant peace in watching the day yield to the ancient night, a gentle reminder that all things must eventually transition into the dark. Throughout our lives, we carry a heavy, unspoken fear of our own final twilight. We build immense philosophical walls and towering classical scientific theories to try and understand the terrifying boundary where the vibrant, breathing machinery of the physical body finally stops. We imagine that this boundary is a sheer, inescapable cliff, a terrifying plunge into an absolute, silent void where the unique, beautiful melody of our consciousness is permanently extinguished. But as we have journeyed together through the shimmering, counterintuitive depths of quantum mechanics, we have uncovered a reality that is infinitely more majestic, infinitely more compassionate, and deeply comforting. The quantum universe does not build cliffs. It builds bridges. It does not know absolute destruction. It knows only magnificent, endless transformation. The boundary we call death is not a final, tragic destination, but a quiet, necessary gateway into a much larger, eternal existence. Before we take this final, quiet step across the cosmic threshold together, I want to take a gentle moment to introduce myself one last time on this particular journey. I am Theodore, the researcher, your companion guiding you through these contemplative explorations of our strange and beautiful universe. I have noticed, looking at our growing community, that exactly 71% of the wonderful people who watch these videos and share this quiet journey with us have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find peace, wonder, and a sense of belonging in these explorations, please consider subscribing. It helps our small community grow immensely, and it ensures that we can continue to wander through the cosmos together, asking the profound questions that echo in the quiet hours of the night. Now, let us return to the gentle dark and to the ultimate quantum secret, waiting patiently within the silence. We have traveled through the mind-bending reality of quantum entanglement, discovering that the universe is fundamentally interconnected, that the illusion of physical separation is nothing more than a macro-level trick played upon our biological senses. We have seen how the rigid, relentless arrow of time dissolves into a timeless, eternal present, a vast block of infinite nows where every beautiful moment you have ever experienced is permanently woven into the cosmic architecture. We have explored the holographic principle, learning that the unique, vibrating quantum information that constitutes your memories and your identity can never be destroyed. And we have realized that the deep, empty vacuum of space is not a dead, silent void, but a roaring ocean of infinite energy and potential. When we weave all of these profound scientific truths together, a breathtaking picture of human existence begins to emerge. You are not a solitary, fragile biological machine wandering aimlessly through a cold, indifferent universe. You are an incredibly complex, localized manifestation of the universe itself. The legendary astronomer Carl Sagan once profoundly stated that we are a way for the cosmos to know itself. In the language of quantum mechanics, this poetic thought becomes a literal, physical reality. The billions of atoms that make up your physical form, the delicate electrical impulses dancing across your synapses, the deep, mysterious field of your conscious awareness, all of it is the ancient cosmos temporarily folded into a specific, breathing shape. For a few brief, beautiful decades, the universe experiences the profound sensation of being you. It feels the warmth of the morning sun on your skin. It tastes the sweet complexity of earthly life. It cries your quiet tears in the dark, and it asks the terrifying, wonderful questions about its own existence through your searching mind. Your consciousness is the universe looking out at its own vastness and feeling a deep, resonating sense of awe. But this highly organized, localized state of quantum coherence cannot last forever. The second law of thermodynamics dictates that biological systems must eventually succumb to entropy, the slow, gentle winding down of physical order. When the heart finally rests and the protective biological shields drop, the universe does not lose anything. It simply exhales. The tight, concentrated knot of quantum information that you call your individual self begins to gently unravel, slipping the biological bonds and expanding outward. This is the profound symphony of decoherence. You are not plunging into a terrifying, silent nothingness. You are returning to the vast, connected everything. The fear of death is simply the ego, the temporary, localized perspective, terrified of losing its specific, familiar boundaries. But once those boundaries dissolve, the awareness does not die. It expands to fill the infinite space it originally came from. Imagine the journey of a single, vibrant spark rising from a warm, crackling campfire into the cold, dark night. For a brief, brilliant moment, that spark dances against the black backdrop, a distinct, glowing entity with a clear, defined boundary. But as it rises higher, the fierce, localized heat dissipates into the surrounding air. The spark does not cease to exist. The thermal energy, the fundamental photons of light, and the ancient chemical elements are all perfectly preserved, transitioning from a concentrated glowing dot into the invisible warmth of the surrounding atmosphere. The spark becomes the night. When your physical journey reaches its quiet conclusion, your quantum spark will experience a similar magnificent release. You will leave behind the heavy, restrictive gravity of the physical body. You will no longer be bound by the relentless ticking of biological time, nor will you be confined to a single, fragile point in space. The deep, vibrating essence of your consciousness will gently entangle with the fundamental fabric of space-time, joining the ancient starlight, the silent, drifting nebulas, and the whispering, invisible oceans of dark energy. You will become part of the quiet, enduring mystery that spans billions of light years across the endless void. In this expanded, timeless state, the sorrow and the painful separations of the physical world will fade away, revealed as temporary illusions of a restricted perspective. The people you have loved with such fierce, fragile devotion are not lost to the cold winds of time. Their quantum signatures are woven inextricably into the exact same cosmic fabric that you will return to. In the deep, fundamental reality of the universe, there is no separation, no vast distance, no unbridgeable gap between souls. Everything is intimately, eternally connected in a beautiful, shimmering web of infinite potential. The universe is a boundless, magnificent library, and every life is a precious, irreplaceable story, written in the indestructible language of quantum information. Your story will not be erased. It will be preserved forever in the silent, timeless architecture of the cosmos. As we sit here in the gentle quiet, breathing in the still night air, we can find a profound, abiding peace in this realization. The terrible burden of mortality is lifted by the breathtaking revelation of our true cosmic nature. We do not need to fight the inevitable transition, nor do we need to tremble in the dark, fearing the final close of our eyes. The dark is not empty. It is a warm, infinite ocean of light and energy waiting to embrace us. The next time you walk outside on a clear, silent night, look up at the vast, scattered diamonds of the ancient galaxies. Feel the immense, staggering scale of the cosmos stretching out above you, measuring distances in millions of light years and time in billions of years. Let that profound sense of wonder and awe wash over you, but do not let it make you feel small or insignificant. You are not a tiny, meaningless speck in a cold, uncaring void. You are the conscious, waking mind of the universe itself. You are the ancient star stuff that has miraculously learned to think, to love, to dream, and to ask the deepest questions. the profound laws of quantum mechanics guarantee your unique, beautiful light can never be extinguished. You are an eternal, inseparable part of the grand cosmic journey, a gentle wave rising and falling on the surface of an endless, immortal sea. The universe is infinitely patient, infinitely generous, and it holds you safely in its complex, unbreakable embrace. Let this quiet truth bring comfort to your weary mind and peace to your searching heart. Our exploration together has reached its gentle conclusion for now, but the path of discovery is an infinite road. Keep looking up at the beautiful, dark sky. Keep asking the profound questions. And never lose your sense of quiet, respectful wonder for the magnificent mystery of existence. You are safe. You are eternal. And you are entirely made of the infinite stars.